KXEX. This is the Alan Autry Show. No retreat.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
What the hell's going on out here? Everybody grabbing out there. Nobody.
That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
So, 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable. Free at last! Free at last! Thanks Almighty! We are free at
To the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX.
And welcome to Alan Autry No Retreat. This is old Alan Autry, and honored and humbled to have you with us as always on this cold, rainy day in Fresno, California. Yes, I said it. Cold and rainy. We don't get enough rain in these parts. And to see it coming down like this today is just wonderful. I know those folks up in Seattle, that means nothing to y'all, rainy parts of the country, but dadgummit here in California, in particular Central Valley, the breadbasket of the world, which we are. No offense to Ukraine and their wheat fields and Russia and their wheat fields. This is provides 2/3 of our country's fruits and vegetables and ships a lot overseas. We feed a lot of people here. We are, as a good friend of mine said, the hands that feed the world, and we have just been hammered with our water allotments being taken here by the federal government, and just a constant battle to be able to grow food for y'all, put food on the table. And it's I tell you, that issue has really come to fore as an important issue, excuse me, as it always has been, but has been failed to be recognized as by government officials and policies here in California and around the country. And it's very perplexing, very not a smart policy at all, very dangerous when you put your food production in the hands of foreign countries. And as we stare right in the face, not of an oil price increase in the gas pump, that's bad enough. I'm talking about a food supply crisis where food is doubling, tripling, quadrupling in price. And but you know, things happen for a reason. In the Bible, I like to quote the Bible now and then. It says, what man meant for evil, God meant for good. And these folks that want to destroy the San Joaquin Valley in terms of food production, and believe me, there's the concerted effort, and it's well funded out there to do so. Hopefully this will open their eyes a little bit, excuse me, and we can just make some common sense decisions, as not just as a state, as a country, to make sure we keep our food supply within our own control, because we have the means to do that. We have some of the most fertile land in the world. There's no need to put us in a position that we are in now. But anyway, we got a lot of important things to talk about, like Will Smith knocking the crap out of Chris Rock, right? So what am I starting with something innocuous and silly like food supply shortage? Sometimes you think of this world, you think that way, going, you know, enough about, you know, that we're going to starve to death. Why did Will Smith smack Chris Rock? Well, let's go over a few things, and we will, you believe me, I'm going to get to Joe Biden's 9 ad-libbed words that shook the world. That, you know, I keep thinking about what Barack Obama supposedly said, but I think absolutely said, because it's been verified by so many people that heard the remark, although former President Obama has not stepped forth and said, raised his hand and said, yeah, I said this about old Joe. But he's purportedly made the comment, never underestimate the ability of Joe Biden to mess things up. I won't use the word he used, but I think you know what that word is. And man, I'm telling you, when you work with somebody for 8 years, you get to know him, and he's proven to be very prophetic. And in this case, It's gone from, boy, can you believe he said that? Oh, gosh, that was just a silly thing to say. Gosh, is he losing it? This and that. Well, I've got some opinions on that I want to share with you here shortly. But he stepped into an arena now that those words carry great weight, as they always have. But because of the situation in Ukraine, this war going on, words mean things. Words can heal. Wounds can wound. Wounds can bring peace, and words can start wars. They have in the past. History has proven that. But let's just do a few things from the top of the show here, and then we'll get in that in the second segment. Just want to go a few things on my mind here, as I call them our art class, Autry's Random Thoughts. We're getting this rebate out here in California. I don't know if you call it a rebate. It's the governor's gift to us, and he is just giddy. We've got a giddy Gavin out here that thinks he has that we're gonna just love him. And I know Gavin Newsom. He's a really good guy, actually. He's an individual. I know it's hard to believe. Some folks out there judge the man by his policies, but you sit down with him. He's a decent, good man. But to say that he has an understanding of the real life that people are living, that most people live, that he has a visceral understanding of what people go through on an everyday basis in this country and in this state, that's really an overreach. And it has nothing to do with being a good guy or a bad guy. It just has a lot to do with him being ill-informed. He wasn't raised having to really suffer economically at all. And when you haven't experienced the life where, you don't know if you're going to be able to make rent. You don't know if you're going to be able to put enough food on the table. When you have 3 kids and your wife tells you, hey, get ready, dude, we got a 4th one on the way. You in this uncertain world, and COVID comes along and all of the, stay inside. Well, it's easy to say when you have a sprawling mansion with a huge backyard like these athletes and actors and politicians have. And I mean, my goodness, they got a huge swimming pool back there. They got basketball courts. They can go out there and play a pickup football game on their lawn and have 10, 15 people over, and probably unmasked. But, when you tell people stay indoors and you have a mother with, 4 or 5 kids in a 1-2 bedroom apartment, it's a whole different story. It's not as easy to say, hey, just stay home. Well, it's not that easy. Well, this $400 rebate that he wants to give us, he thinks that is just going to make a huge impact on those that, that still drive their cars, which is most of us, to go to work and such. If you fill up your car, my goodness, any car, small car, it's double. What used to cost like $35, $40 to fill up a small compact car, it's now $55, or maybe $60. And my goodness, you drive a pickup truck. My God, it shuts off at 100. So you got to go back, cash out, put in a credit card again if you want to fill it up. I had a buddy the other day, $145 to fill up his truck. And when you do the math, $400 is not going to get very far down the freeway. It's not going to be too many trips to work and back, Governor Newsom. So I don't know. I guess, thank you, I guess. But to be whistling zippity-doo-dah out of my rear end and doing cartwheels and saying Gavin for president because he's such a nice guy, I don't think I can do that. And I'm being flippant for a reason. It just doesn't help that much. And when you get out there and you make it sound like you've given a great thing, be happy, here's what's coming, $400, you sound like that emperor that, says, let them eat cake. Give them cake. I'm just saying, Governor, that's how you come across. I know you. You and I have had private conversations. We were appointed to several commissions by Governor Schwarzenegger. I like you. We've shared laughs together. We started out butting heads on City Hall of same-sex marriages, and I had one to, was just at City Hall to do a rally for traditional marriage and not going against somebody of same-sex marriage, just to glorify and exalt traditional marriage. And we had we talked about that, and on many occasions, we even talked on personal level, some struggles that we've had in life. So it's not, I'm not trying to hit and beat you up politically. I'm just trying to grab you gently by the shirt, not slap you like Will Smith, to get Chris Rock's attention about saying something about his wife. That's not what I'm talking about. I wouldn't do that. But maybe just grab you by the lapels and just shake you a little bit and say, wake up. This is not a big, you're not giving back. Here's what you could do. You really want people to say, thank you, Governor. Thank you for thinking about the people instead of your political party. Thank you for thinking about the future of our kids instead of your political future. You lower that gas tax. My goodness, we have the highest gas prices in the nation. And when you add it up, it's not one, it's two gas taxes. Lower that gas tax and make it permanent. That will help the family that you think this $400 is going to help. This $400. I tell you, and by the way, you don't have to give that $400 to everybody. Folks, that $400 is going to millionaires as well. Now, I'm far from a millionaire, but I don't need that $400. I know people who it would help some with their $400, now my $400, that's $800. It's not like lowering the gas tax. It's still not something to do cartwheels about. Still not to get the adulation that you're seeking from this or the political hay that you think you're going to make from this. But it helps some. And I would just as soon, when I get that, I'm going to give it to charity. I'm going to give it to a worthy cause, that $400. Anyway, and this is going to irritate some folks too. I've come to the conclusion at my advanced age that these folks on the woke far left who feel that critical race theory is good for our kids, that open borders is good for an orderly, functional society, who feel that you could take a life at any time during pregnancy, that you feel that these folks who say that the best way to achieve peace, lasting peace, is through weakness as a country. I've come to the conclusion that those folks, most of them who embrace those ideas and think that $400 is really going to help families' gas bills, they really believe that. And there's a lot of anger out there because I think a lot of folks believe, how could these people be so dumb? How could they be so ill-informed? They must know what they're doing, and they're doing it anyway just to hurt us. And that can get some anger going. I'm here to tell you, I don't believe that's true with the majority of them. I believe AOC firmly believes that this nation would be better off if you had oppressive communist regime who took everything from the haves, destroyed the economy, start over, and make it a totally communist country when history has proven it is the worst economic system that's ever been created and implemented on a mass scale. It's created more poverty, more murder, more dysfunction. Why do you think the Soviet Union is no longer the Soviet Union? Because they employed communism. And China is going to have their day. It's coming unless they go to a free market system completely. It's never worked. But they still believe that that's the best thing. Take God. If you just take God out of the equation, God out of our system, then we would just be headed in the right direction. The best thing, the system we can have is a godless communist country where the haves rule the have-nots and make sure they get cake and a $400 rebate. And things would be beautiful. Problem solved, as Inspector Clouseau said. But I don't believe I'm starting at this age, because I used to be with y'all. I used to think, man, this is so silly, so idiotic. Just look at a little bit of history, and I'm not the brightest chrome on a bumper, never claimed to be. But I could see, just a little reading I do, a little research I do, communism doesn't work. Big oppressive government doesn't work. Burdensome taxation for individuals, families, businesses don't work. Margaret Thatcher said it the best. Socialism works until you run out of other people's money. But I just don't. There's a different way you can approach it if you feel that they really believe that. Well, why, Alan? You ask why is this such an epiphany? Why do you think this is good? Here's why. If they truly believe that from their heart, then you have an opportunity to change their mind. There is an opportunity there. And what can do that? Maybe not just sitting down some conservative trying to change a liberal's mind, but life's circumstances. Things happen that show clearly that what a system that does work and a system that doesn't work. We're seeing a lot of that with Russia, what Russia used to be and what NATO is. And what we're seeing these basic conservative principles have said, growing your own food. Why that makes sense? It makes no sense to give the power to feed you and your family to somebody else who may like you today but hate you tomorrow and say, hey, and we say, hey, where's the food we gave you to give us? They say, we're not giving it to you anymore. Why? Because we don't like you. Well, what do you mean you like me? Well, we had an election or a military coup. We got new people in there. Screw you. Starve. Who would give the right to grow their own food to another country? And look what we've done. Well, that never happened. Check again. That's why they're calling Ukraine the breadbasket of the world, along with Russia. I knew it was out there, but I never knew that Ukraine produced 40% of the world's wheat. I didn't know that Russia was the biggest exporter of fertilizer, including to the United States. Well, what does that mean, Alan? Well, you know what it means. You can't grow food in the abundance necessary to feed 350 million people in the United States, much less the billions around the world, unless you're able to grow food and grow a lot of it. And you can't grow a lot of it without fertilizer. No, you can go organic and feed a few people. So all of this started with I got triggered by Newsom's $400 rebate, as you could tell. Got a little triggered on that, fellas. But again, we have to stop demonizing and working with people. I'm not going to get up here and call Gavin Newsom names. I'm not going to call him a demon. I'm not going to come out here and say he doesn't care about even anybody, even his own kids. The man is just so heartless and brutal. He only cares about his hair and eating at some fancy restaurants up in Sonoma. I'm not going to say that, but I'm going to very aggressively call him out when I see policies like this and I see an attitude attached to those policies that is not only not good for California, but further divides this country and further makes you, our governor, who we should be hoping can succeed, lose the trust of the people and further perpetuate the persona that you're so detached that you think $400 is going to be a game changer in terms of the gas pump. All right. Said my piece here on that remark. When we come back, like I said, we're going to get to some real important stuff like Will Smith knocking the snot out of Chris Rock. Did you see that last night on the Oscars? I couldn't believe what I was saying. But there's ramifications. Love that word, don't you, Jose? Ramifications. A lot more to that punch heard around the world, and we're going to talk about that when we come right back.
I just need some place where...
Hey, so what? Was it real or was it staged?
Oh, it was real.
Huh?
Yeah. It was real. It was just, I was hoping Chris Rock.
Are you on Will's side or on?
I can understand Will, but no, in today's day and time, excuse me. And I think he knows that. Denzel Washington tried to tell him. Denzel Washington says, when you're on top, that's when the devil comes at you. He had, again, young people are going to see that and think, here's how we handle conflict. And there's so much violence they saw out in the street for a whole year. Young people burning down buildings, knocking people in the head because they disagreed with them and nothing happening to them. They're going to see Will Smith come up there, knock the snot out of him, go back and sit down and people laugh about it. He goes up and gets a reward, best actor. And see, that's particularly hits home to me because I have this mentoring organization. We're at a high school now dealing with fights every single day. And their deal is, well, hey, that's how you do it. You don't think, well, no, Will Smith's a hero to a lot of them. The Rock, if The Rock went up and did that, you would have these young kids mimicking their heroes. Their heroes are not Joe Biden, Donald Trump. Care less. Their heroes when they go over there to Edwards and watch, Dwayne Johnson save the world and say, I want to be that. And then when that does that, they do that. That's just my take. What do you guys think?
No,
What?
Yeah, I'm on the. I don't agree with what he did was correct.
Yeah.
At all.
I would gone in backstage. You want to go backstage and get in his face?
Yeah, during the commercial break.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah. That is a great point. I'm going to use that. I still would have said, you want, it's like Denzel was trying to mentor him, Will Smith. You could tell Will was wound pretty tight. He's a wound tight guy anyway. But just say, went to the commercial break, go up there, and I'll tell you, it wasn't a.
You seen the video? Will started laughing when he said the joke.
Yeah, but it was a forced laugh too, though.
When he turned and seen
Jada. Oh, did that happen?
Serious,
Really that way?
and
Really?
That's when he got serious. Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
I still think Will.
So he got that sickum look.
Yeah.
From her.
Yeah. Kind of like, oh no, it's not funny.
Yeah. But see, I kind of, Chris Rock can go over the line, but she came out and says, I'm going to own this. I'm not going to wear a wig. She could wear wigs, people that have that condition. She said, I'm not going to wear it. And he said, hey, you have to be G.I. Jane too. That Demi Moore, buffed, fit woman. And maybe he was just trying to say.
10 seconds.
Okay. What do you think, folks? Alan Autry, No Retreat. Boy, we've got a lot to talk about and too little of a show to get through it. But we're going to talk about this Will Smith thing, and then we got to get to Joe Biden's 9 ad-lib words that shook the world. We got Will Smith's slap that shook the world, and Joe Biden's 9 ad-lib words that could send the world into World War III. My goodness, when you think it can't get worse. I'm going to stop saying that about Biden. I'm going to be like a Seinfeld. I'm going to say, he's going to say something really not smart again. He's going to say something smart again. So Seinfeld said, it's just say opposite. You're one of those guys that goes the opposite. And that's true with me. If I get lost out there in Fresno driving around, I think, where am I going? I think it's turn right here at Nice. I go left. And I'm about 90% correct if I go against what I think to do. Is that comforting you folks that when I was mayor for 8 years, I was doing that? All right. Okay. Will Smith, as Chris Rock said, knocking the crap out of Chris Rock. During the break, social media folks, you were able to privy to the conversation having with Jose and some of our team here about was it right or wrong. I am firmly in that it was the wrong thing to do for Will Smith. But I understand why he did what he did, and any husband could. Any son or daughter, that's your mama being talked about. I get that. But in today's world where it seems like violence is the answer to everything, 2020, people rioting in the streets, beating innocent people over the head with baseball bats, frozen water bottles, being shot and being, bailed out of jail, being let go free, no consequences. And you see somebody, on the subways, it's not a day that goes by, it seems like you don't see somebody assaulted on a subway. People just expressing their displeasure by going to violence. I've never seen America like this in my time. I've been around a while. So on that level, and Will Smith knows, in his acceptance speech, he even said it through the tears, He wants to be a vessel for love. He knows that people depend on him for that. He knows he is a role model. He didn't pull a Charles Barkley and say, I'm no damn role model. He embraced that. So on that level, getting up and what Chris Rock, these comedians can go over the line. Some folks think he did. Some folks think he didn't. I have a little view on that as well. Is to do what he did on national television and around the world couldn't have happened at a more worse time. Because people do, especially young people, a lot of young people look up at Will Smith. If that would have been The Rock that got up, The Rock's even more popular than Will Smith, and smacked somebody for saying something about either his wife or whatever. Young people's heroes are not politicians. They're not old TV actors. The young people today, there's some icons, and Will Smith is one of them. Rock is one of them. They don't want to be, they don't want to hold up politicians, as I said, and as heroes. They go to the movie theater and they see Rock, swinging on a cable, saving the world with a machine gun in one hand, flying into a helicopter, beating up the bad guys, and Will Smith doing the same thing. And they say, I want to be that. I want to do that. And then they see one of their heroes act a certain way in public. They say, hey, if he's doing that, that's pretty cool. I can do that. Yeah, folks, it is simple. Some folks are shaking their heads out there. Trust me, I've been working with at-risk kids that haven't had a father around, most of them. Most of them have some addiction issues, mental health issues for 10 years, working with an organization now. And believe me, it's that simple. They can be easily led by that. They gang members, I'm not equating Will Smith with gang members. I'm just saying wherever they go and they're looking, they find somebody that they can look up to. Like I said, most of the times their dads are gone. You want kids to look up to their dad. Dad ain't around. So that void of that father or that authority figure that you trust and want to be like, emulate, and grow up to be is filled by someone. And in this case, I know going, talking to our life coaches and mentors, which I'm going to today, this is not going to help the situation that we're working with at a high school. It's all over high schools all over the country. No matter where you're listening right now, there's added security challenges, added discipline problems at your school that you didn't have prior to COVID and all the violence that's been out there. So in that regard, I think Will Smith, he got up and he seemed a little apologetic. He never apologized to Chris Rock. He kind of said, okay, I'm sorry I did this, but let me tell you why I justify it. And we have to feel a little for Chris, for Will Smith, obviously. It looks to me like he's wound a little tight, because you think people that so-called have it all, it's a temptation to think they don't have the same problems I do. I know, because I grew up, my dad made $2.25 an hour topped out. Mom cleaned houses to make ends meet. I've told this story before. Grew up in abject poverty. And I used to think, well, those people that had some notoriety, had some money, that they wouldn't have the same feelings of insecurity, of loneliness, of stress that I have. Well, then God let me have a little bit of that. Let me have some fame, more than most people will ever have. Some money, more than most people will ever have. Status, most people will ever have. And guess what? Those same things are still there. That money, the fame, the notoriety, the position in life doesn't solve those problems of loneliness, of painful wounds that you had in childhood that you never addressed, some anger that you have pent up that you might even yourself not know where it comes from, the stresses of I'm going to lose it all tomorrow, the stress about your kids, are they going to turn out okay? Those are all still there. And Will Smith, from what I understand, has some people that know him. He's by all accounts, a really a decent guy, but he's wound pretty tight. And last night, it just snapped. And I hope he, Denzel Washington gave him some great advice. He said, God will, the devil will come at you when you're at your top, when you're at the top, and he'll definitely come at you when you're at the bottom. And one of the ways he does that is to make sure you blame everybody else except taking accountability when you're on the bottom. And that's very good advice because it's a spiritual battle. But Chris Rock, you know, folks, what do you think about that? I mean, you can give me a call if you think about it, 559-899-1550. I think I got it memorized. We're going to move on to another subject here in just a second. But I just hold out this. People saying, well, Chris Rock shouldn't have said this. And he's an irreverent comedian. There's no getting around that. The most irreverent, no, but he's out there. He's gonna go after you and say some things. Here's what I think. I have nothing to go on other than my gut feeling. I think Chris Rock, if he knew about Jada Pinkett Smith, her hair loss was extremely sensitive to her to the point where you couldn't mention anything like that or make a joke about it. I know people know Chris Rock. I don't think he would have gone there. Now I hear people going, oh, come on, Alec, don't be naive. I get that. I'm just, and again, I have nothing to go on as my own instincts. Jada Pinkett Smith came out and said, I'm gonna own this. She wasn't wearing a wig. Cori Bush came out. She has the same condition. She's not wearing a wig. She said, we're going to own it. Don't feel sorry for me. Here I am. And let's don't make it like, oh, gosh, I can't say, feel sorry for me. I'm going to own this and move on in life. And with Chris Rock saying, hey, I'm going to be seeing you in the Demi Moore movie 2. I forget the name of it. But where she was a Marine, had her head shaved, and she, very buffed out like Jada Pinkett. It could have been him saying, okay, I'm not going to, hide from this. Here's the thing. Hey, going to see you in that movie here. Let's move on. Just maybe. In a moment, he probably didn't think that through as well either. But in fact, one of the folks here that works saw something on that clip that I didn't see. And I guess Will Smith was laughing with Chris Rock. And he made the comment. He was laughing and looked over to his wife, and she wasn't laughing. In fact, apparently she gave him a second look. Again, we don't know what was in her head, if that actually happened. But anyway, he did what he felt he had to do to defend his wife. On that level, you've got to say, okay, I understand. But understand and condone are two very different things, especially when you have the whole world watching, and especially when you're a role model to so many young people. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got to talk about Biden's 9 ad-lib words that people are still talking about today, and was just a gift just wrapped perfectly, hand-delivered to Vladimir Putin from Joe Biden. When we come back, we'll talk about, tell you what I'm talking about.
I don't have your loving anymore.
I got those images ready.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Jose brought up a point that he could have waited to the commercial break. And again, you don't want to take the thing where you strike somebody that they don't know it's coming. For one thing, that's back in the day was called a sucker punch. And, I'm not, hold on, I'm not calling him this, but I'm just telling you like it is, or like it used to be. That was called a sucker punch. And if you sucker punch somebody, you were a coward. It didn't matter what it was. You told a guy, Will Smith sat down and then said, keep my wife's name out of your effing mouth. And what was done in the old days was you would have said that before you walked up and smacked him, or you would have gave him a warning. Don't say that again, or I'm going to come up there and give you an attitude adjustment. That didn't happen. He just walked right up and then looking down and sucker punched him. And also a guy older and much smaller. So on many levels, I just think Will, hopefully, and you know what? I got a feeling that he does feel real bad about that, what happened. He's got it. It's like I said, I know people that know Will Smith, and by all accounts, just really a nice guy. Really a nice guy. Good dad, not perfect dad. No, none of us are. Good husband. Jada's still with him. I'd be trying, like us imperfect husbands. But just unfortunate.
Got Laura on the line. One minute.
All righty.
Seconds.
All righty. 10 seconds when we're back on radio, folks. Autry's Army.
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX.
And welcome back to Alan Autry No Retreat. And no, I can't get no satisfaction. This administration, I tell you, Joe, say it ain't so, Joe. Please do not let this man go overseas again. Excuse me. Don't let him get in front of a camera unless he sticks with the scripted remarks. And by the way, get a new speech writer who's ever writing this stuff. I tell you, it sounds like a term paper from a junior high student. You probably heard it. It went, all right, I was all puckered up on that trip up there going, Joe, please don't do on the international stage. Don't go over there and step in doo-doo. Don't control your mouth. Just take a moment, think this thing through. Don't do no more we accept minor incursions. No things that, hey, if you're an American in Afghanistan, we'll come back and save you. And by the way, Taliban, if you abuse kids, we're going to come back and get you. And as soon as they do, they shut down the school. Don't do something like that. And it was adequate. What he had said before, we all knew it was a bunch of doo-doo. He was not going to get tough on Putin in terms of delivering the deliverables, which he hasn't, in terms of the tanks and the guns and all the stuff that they need to defend themselves. Just constantly berating Putin, call him a war criminal, this and this, pretty much poisoning the water for any kind of diplomatic solution that would have the United States in the center of it. Now, that void has been filled by Erdogan from Turkey, a dictator in his own right, Macron from France, trying to fill that gap of leading the search, the quest for a peaceful solution to this thing as more and more Ukrainians and Russians die. The beef's not with the Russian soldier, the Ukrainian. It's just a lot of death out there. Mariupol, my goodness. To stop the devastation seems like it was the farthest thing from the president's mind. And then he said it at the end of his speech, and it was ad-libbed, I guess. He gets going. He just doesn't know when to stop, and then he said it. He said, for God's sake, this man cannot remain in office. Here's the thing. This is Foreign Policy 101. You do not call for the assassination or a military coup of a foreign leader another foreign leader, especially one that's a nuclear power. And it's just something you don't do. Obama, at his naive worst, knew not to do that. It's just a line, and a collective gasp went across the entire world because the whole world knows that President Putin over there has been trying to tell his people and the people of the world that the United States want to see him gone. They want to see him assassinated, see him removed, want to see him not remain in office. You talk about interfering in elections. Remember with Biden going nuts about Russian interference in elections? Well, do you think this is an interference in an election? When you basically can construe that very easily, as people have, telling the Russian people, take him out, telling other countries, go take him out. Now, the White House tried to walk that back, but you can't walk back something like that. You know, like Larry Powell says, once words are spoken, they can be forgiven, but not easily forgotten, or if ever forgotten. And now Putin has, in his mind, and his propaganda machine's going in high gear now, that it just validates everything he's been saying. The West is out to get him. And you got to realize he was elected by the Russian people. And here's one thing we have to understand as well. 52% of the Russian people support the war. They've been told a whole different scenario about NATO and NATO's plans. And they have a very good propaganda machine. This is only going to increase the support. And I use this as an example. We're going to go to Laura here in a moment. If you know, I don't think Joe Biden is fit to be our president, or Kamala Harris. But if a foreign country said that Joe Biden or Kamala Harris should be taken out, should be removed from office, you're going to see me defend Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and go after that guy or that gal, whoever said it. You don't call for the assassination of my president and my vice president. We'll handle that at the voting booth. We'll handle that in this precious thing called the democratic process. You don't go out there and call for that. It's like I said, I may disagree with everything about him, but we elected him. And we have a precious system called democracy, peaceful transition of power. And we don't shoot somebody or remove them from office in a violent nature. That's you guys do that. The rest of you people, you dictators do it. We don't do that. And you'd see me defending Joe Biden and Kamala Harris against that type of attack. And here our president is saying that about a leader. At its worst, Kennedy never called for Castro's assassination. Now, behind the scenes, we have to understand he did sanction and know it. He didn't come out and say these things to the world. So, anyway, we're going to talk more in depth about these the consequences of those words and can the world walk back in a healthy way, and somehow can this we get a peaceful solution there. There is some hope right now. We're hearing as Zelensky's willing to go the neutrality way route and give that to the Russians, but the Russians saying, listen, we want Donbass, we want the Crimea for good, and kind of cut Ukraine up again. A little bit, make two Ukraines, actually. Zelensky says that's a non-starter, but it's in keeping, which I said was going to be Putin's strategy from the get-go. This is not some ragtag operation. This is a very well thought-out, methodical plan. He was not insane to the point where he's just going there willy-nilly. He had plan A, B, C, and D, depending on how strong the Ukrainians responded. They responded pretty strong. Believe me, he had plan B, C, and D. And plan A was never to overrun and bomb the heck out of Kiev and control the whole country. It was to go in there and make them think that that's what he was going to do. So he would be able to have something to put on the table to give up and go, okay, I won't come in and take Kiev. We'll remove it. But by the way, we're going to keep Donbass and those two, I think it's Donetsk, things, and Luhansk, those two provinces there that make up the Donbass region, solidify Crimea and Mariupol and that the ports to the Black Sea. That's what the Russians are going to say that they'll be okay with. and get rid of the sanctions, and they go home to Moscow. Now we're going to take a call here from Laura, because Zelensky said something pretty amazing. He said, the sanctions on these oligarchs that put Biden in the world have imposed. Well, Zelensky doesn't go along with all of that. He thinks the oligarchs may be helpful. And so let's go to Laura. She's got some information on those Russian oligarchs. Laura, you there? Laura, you there?
I'm here.
All right. I got you on the screen there. You said some info. Got some info on Russian oligarchs?
Yeah.
Are they still
only one has been identified at this point. He's the only one that's come forward. His name is Roman Abramovich. And he and 6 other oligarchs have been working behind the scenes, apparently, to try to help with negotiations between Russia and Ukraine. And they were all poisoned last week.
We know. I saw that report. Do we know that for sure yet? Has that been confirmed?
Yes. 4
Where?
of them are actually still hospitalized. They haven't identified. He's the only one that's come out publicly. I mean, he physically looks like he's been poisoned. All of his skin is peeling off of his face and his extremities. He has blood red eyes.
Now, let me ask you this: Are these oligarchs that are perceived to be favorable to Russia?
Yes.
Huh?
They've all been sanctioned. They're all sanctioned oligarchs.
So, what is the assumption? Where is the evidence, if any, that's leading to who may have perpetrated this poisoning?
He's saying that they have been poisoned by somebody in Russia, because that's where they were when they all ended up coming down with these symptoms after they had a meeting with Putin, Lavrov, and several a group of other members of the Duma. And it was about an hour later, they all began exhibiting symptoms. And
so
he's saying that
go ahead.
He has concerns that negotiations may not go the way everybody's hoping they're going to go, given this new situation. They're testing them now to determine whether it was chemical or radiation. They don't believe it's biological. They think it may have been some type of radiation attack, because they did eat with them. They had a luncheon, and they were talking, and they were trying to discuss the possibility of negotiations. They were with this group for about 3 hours, and after they left, about an hour later, they all started exhibiting symptoms, some more severely than others.
Well, so do we have any hypotheses coming forward as to, because I'm trying to think this through my head, those that believe that Russia and Putin are behind this and everything else, are they saying that we're going to poison them? Saying the Russians did it, they're going to poison the oligarchs who are supportive of Russia, and then try to blame it on the Ukrainians for poisoning? I mean, what advantage does Putin get out of poisoning oligarchs that are loyal to him?
Well, here's the thing. This is what Abramovich is saying, that he feels because they were trying to reach some type of negotiation and speaking on behalf of Ukraine as well, that immediately puts their loyalty into question, because they're saying, they were trying to give him an off-ramp to get out of this, where he could possibly give Ukraine some concessions, in that he only takes the Donbass region. They were putting out a lot of things on the table, and Putin was not happy. It may very well be possible that Putin decided, you're not with me 100% because you want me to go to the table and you want me to concede something.
Yeah, but to me, I'm not going to be called apologist for Putin. That just does not make sense to me. You're going to have these guys over in Russia, poison them, they die in Russia, and I mean, what do you get out of that? 5 oligarchs die after dinner with Putin. Why would he do that? I mean, it makes no sense.
A rational person. You're not talking about a rational.
No,
person.
you're talking about no. I think this is where the whole world. Well, now they're starting to realize this guy he may be evil, probably is evil, but like the guy who was on CNN the other day, who knows Putin better than anybody. I forget his name and his position. Very credible man. Said the same thing that I was saying. He said the biggest mistake that the West is making is to think that he is some madman that's not methodical and thinking this through. He said he is a tremendous chess player.
I know, but hold on. Can I just
and this is not
real quick though, because
this is not a good chess move.
A guy that worked with him for 17 years, worked side by side with him, wrote an incredible op-ed about Vladimir Putin, and what he put out, I think, is probably one of the most accurate descriptions of what we're dealing with. Yes, he's an intelligent man. He is also a sociopath and a narcissist who lives in a bubble. When you have anyone who lives in a bubble, we'll take you, for example. You are an exceptionally intelligent person. You've never presented to be a sociopath. So I'm going to operate on the fact that you're not. But imagine, Alan, if you spent 20 years of your life with every single person that you come in contact with, that works for you, that lives with you, everybody says you're perfect, you're great. Everything you say, everything you do is right. Eventually, that's going to have an effect.
Yeah, but let me, because we just have a minute. Let me just interject something. Here's, I think, just out of character for his psyche, which may be sociopath, whatever. Anytime something's ever happened, he's had plausible deniability to be able to get through it. That's what he takes his enjoyment. You can't hang that on me. The guy got poked by a poison-tipped umbrella over there in Moscow Square. My opponent is dead, but I had nothing to do with it because I have people out there that I can't control that are out there do things that I don't approve of, that are trying to protect me. I'm sorry, but I had nothing to do with it. But having a dinner with Putin, you get poisoned there, and you have no plausible deniability. It just does not make it makes no sense to me that he would do that. I mean, maybe they got some bad caviar or something. I don't know, but it just doesn't make sense. I mean, if that's what happened, if they had dinner with him and they were poisoned there.
They had lunch and there were about 20 people there.
Was Putin there? Was Putin there?
I mean, Putin was present.
Well, why didn't he get poisoned? If it was radiation, why didn't he get poisoned?
He could still easily say, because, well, that's the thing. Maybe it happened when they went through security, when they had to hand over their cell phones and all of that stuff. It could have happened at any time. The way that they got Navalny, believe it or not, was when he was actually going to fly from one part of Russia to the other, and they swapped out a security guard, and they put poison
but the whole eyes
in his luggage.
But the whole eyes of the world weren't on at that point. You could get away with more when you don't have the eyes of the world, every network on the planet, and every eyeball on this issue. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see. It's crazy world. Laura, thank you for calling in. Thank you for that information. We're going to really follow that story. And folks, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you so much. In this old crazy world, never forget who's in charge. Good Lord, he knows what's best for us. He'll get us through this. God bless you. God bless America. God bless your families. And we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye now.
Keep smiling.